A worn Arabic silver coin found in Scandinavia defines the Viking Age better than any horned helmet. It records connection across enormous distances, yet it cannot name the traveler who carried it north. That combination of reach and uncertainty characterizes the evidence scholars use today. The Viking Age is not a date written by the people living through it. It is a modern period label built from changing patterns in archaeology, texts, language, and landscape. Its usual boundaries, around 750 to 1050, remain conventions rather than universal doors opening and closing. Understand the label. The investigation must travel with the surviving traces. Southern Scandinavia provides evidence for transformations already underway before the raid on Lindisfarne. At Ribe, 8th century workshops reveal craft production, exchange, and an organized settlement beside navigable water. Beads, metalworking debris, combs, and imported materials map skilled labor behind long-distance contact. Trading places such as Ribe did not suddenly appear when a chronicler noticed northern violence. Their growth belonged to broader changes in markets, political authority, maritime capacity, and demand. Archaeological layers establish sequence through stratigraphy, where later deposits generally overlie earlier activity. Individual objects then gain meaning from their recorded position rather than appearance alone. Coins can help date layers when their minting and circulation are understood carefully. The Arabic silver returns here as evidence for exchange linked to the Islamic world. Its presence does not prove that one Scandinavian crossed the entire route. Silver traveled through merchants, tribute, gifts, theft, and remelting before entering a hoard. Numismatics identifies mints and dates, allowing changing flows of coin to become historically visible. Cut fragments and weights show silver functioning by measured value in many northern transactions. This economic evidence defines an age of networks as much as an age of ships. Hedeby shifts the route toward a settlement where land and sea traffic converged. Excavated buildings, streets, harbor structures, workshops, and defenses reveal urban organization over time. Preserved wood can sometimes be dated through dendrochronology by matching annual growth ring patterns. That method can identify a felling year when suitable outer rings and regional sequences survive. It dates timber, not every activity later conducted beside it. Together, structure and chronology show political investment in controlling movement through a strategic corridor. They also recover artisans and laborers whom royal narratives usually leave unnamed. Environmental evidence traces crops, animals, fuel, and resource pressure within those systems. It instead reveals when behavior changed enough for modern scholars to recognize a pattern. Ships extend that pattern without making every vessel a warship. The Oseberg ship was built in the early 9th century and placed within an exceptional burial in Norway. Its construction demonstrates advanced woodworking, but its burial context transformed the vessel's final meaning. The Gokstad ship was seaworthy and strongly built, while also surviving through elite funerary display. Neither ship represents every cargo craft, ferry, fishing boat, or regional hull form. Ship timber analysis can identify construction choices and sometimes timber origin. Experimental reconstructions test performance possibilities, but cannot replay undocumented voyages as fact. Maritime evidence defines capacity, not the motives behind each departure. For motives and encounters, the route crosses westward into written archives. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records the attack on Lindisfarne under 793 within a particular manuscript tradition. Its famous entry supplies an influential marker for the Viking Age in England. Yet Scandinavian developments began earlier, and other regions experienced different first sustained contacts. Chronicles were written and copied by institutions with political and religious concerns. They noticed armies, royal deaths, battles, tribute, and attacks on sacred places. Routine exchange, household migration, and peaceful seasons could pass without comparable entries. Written evidence therefore identifies events powerfully while distributing attention unevenly. Frankish annals add fleets, river campaigns, defenses, payments, and royal decision-making. Irish annals preserve changing local terms and chronologies for raids, settlements, and alliances. Byzantine texts place northern associated travelers within diplomacy, trade, and imperial service. Arabic accounts describe Rus merchants through intellectual traditions different from Latin monastic writing. No single archive defines the whole age because each was made for its own audience. Comparison reveals both agreement and the purposes shaping disagreement. England also demonstrates how archaeology tests categories created by texts. Scandinavian-style brooches or burial practices may suggest migration and cultural affiliation. They cannot assign a simple modern nationality to every individual. Isotope analysis compares chemical signatures in teeth or bone with possible geographic backgrounds. It can indicate that someone likely grew up away from the burial region. The result does not disclose language, loyalty, occupation, or a self-chosen identity. Ancient DNA can illuminate biological relationships and ancestry patterns under suitable preservation. Genetic ancestry likewise cannot define who counted as a Viking. That word often describes activity, while scientific measurements address bodies and populations. The strongest interpretations arise when burial context, objects, chronology, biology, and local history converge. Across the Baltic and Eastern Europe, definitions become still more sensitive. Scandinavian objects appear within communities shaped by Slavic, Baltic, Finnic, steppe, and Byzantine connections. River routes linked markets and political centers rather than carrying a single ethnic expansion. Term Rus changed meaning across sources and centuries. Archaeology can document Scandinavian presence without reducing emerging Eastern polities to Scandinavian colonies. Runic inscriptions provide voices created within Northern writing traditions. Memorial stones name patrons, relatives, journeys, deaths, status, and religious commitments. Their formulae are selective acts of commemoration rather than community censuses. Inscriptions mentioning Eastern travel show movement while preserving family decisions about public memory. Language and place names add another scale by revealing durable patterns of contact and settlement. Dating them precisely can be difficult because names evolve through later speech and documentation. Each evidence class answers a different question, so disagreement may reflect scale rather than error. The North Atlantic tests the outer geographical boundary. Settlement archaeology in Iceland records farms, livestock, imported materials, and landscape change. Radiocarbon dating estimates age from the decay of carbon in once-living material. Calibration and sample context matter, and results usually form ranges rather than exact calendar moments. Tephra layers from volcanic eruptions can provide regional chronological markers where securely identified. Excavated Norse structures and artifacts at Lance Aux Meadows securely date transatlantic activity to approximately 1000. Later Icelandic sagas describe Western voyages, but they were composed long after the events they narrate. Archaeology secures the crossing while literature preserves reshaped cultural memory around it. Indigenous peoples inhabited North America long before Norse arrival, a fact the period label must not obscure. The end of the Viking Age is even less uniform than its beginning. England often emphasizes 1066, when Norwegian invasion failed and Norman conquest remade the kingdom. Normans, however, were not simply Vikings continuing unchanged from their Scandinavian ancestors. In Scandinavia, royal consolidation and Christian institutions developed at different speeds across regions. Church organization, coinage, towns, and written administration altered how rulers exercised power. Raiding did not stop on a single morning, and maritime mobility certainly continued. The label fades where its defining combination of practices and political conditions changes. Some scholars therefore choose boundaries suited to a specific region or research question. This flexibility is a strength when stated openly, not evidence that the period is imaginary. Periods organize comparison. They do not replace the lives and categories of historical people. Today, the Viking Age is defined by intersections rather than one decisive artifact. Secure contexts establish objects, scientific methods refine chronology and movement, and texts reveal named events. Source criticism identifies what every witness could see, wished to say, and failed to preserve. The Arabic coin still cannot tell us whose hand completed its journey. It does show that northern history belonged inside connected Eurasian systems, not beyond Europe's edge. That evidential shift has changed museums, scholarship, and public understanding long after the conventional period ended. The Viking Age now survives as a revisable framework defined most responsibly wherever independent traces meet.